Hey, Warren. Come on. What's my audio? I'm not hearing you. Oh. Hey, Jeff.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, Chuck. Hey, Jeff.
How are you feeling, Jeff?
Can't hear you.
Oh,
Can you hear
yeah.
me?
No.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. Didn't have the right microphone.
How you feeling?
Ah, yeah, I can tell I had a shot, a COVID booster today. And
Test. Can you hear me?
There you go.
Yeah.
there you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. My camera's not on.
Weird.
It's like, why am I not? Oh, that's not good. What?
It's very dark at Chuck's
Yeah,
place.
very dark.
Well, he's testing the camera that he told
Wait,
us.
Chuck, your eyes are closed. It's all dark. Open your eyes. There you go.
Hey.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, Tuesday he said he was on Tuesday. He said he was going to test out the camera in the dark place, and that was live streaming of that.
He meant the psychological dark place.
Yeah.
That's what we tried to convince him.
sh-
Yeah. Oh, it's time for dinner.
That's wrong.
Chuck always has the best pants.
It does.
Hey,
plaid.
it's actually cold here.
It is too here too.
I don't know what the heck happened, but man,
My
I-
furnace
like-
turned on this morning. It was
Yeah.
very confusing.
Yeah.
25
Oh,
degrees.
no wonder.
Not cold here, but it's nice.
This here.
My my wife is in between us, Dave. Once again, seems like every time we speak, she's in between us, geographically.
Yes, I know what you meant.
Glad you clarified that.
I'm kind of disappointed you clarified that.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Jeff, you had a shot. Whoops. You had a shot of one kind. I'm ready to have another shot of another kind after the day it's been.
I don't know how that goes.
Well, I hope that your evening is better than your day was.
just by the company I'm keeping, it's got to be better.
Absolutely.
Oh man.
My day was rough too, but I took a nice big edible, so we're good.
Are we live? David?
Yes, we are live.
Okay, then I'm not going to go any farther.
It's legal. It's double legal for me here. I got a medical card and it's legal in the state I live in. So it's crazy.
What the?
And since I'm in Colorado,
Legal here too.
you know, it's yeah, it can be doubly legal here as well.
Yeah. So I got actually I got the medical in Pennsylvania, but New Jersey just became legal. So and I could see New Jersey from my house. So yeah, if I want to cross the river, I could. It's all the same now. But it's actually crazy now because you could actually get it at like anywhere. It's all gas stations. I was at my mall in New Jersey, right?
Mhm.
And in the mall's like died, with every other mall in New Jersey, it's half open. But in the middle of the mall, with lights blaring right into the middle of it, was this guy who's selling Delta 7, 8, and 9 and one of those little stands. And like Macy's, JCPenney was closed like permanently. Everything else is closed. And here's this guy like just in the middle of like this dead mall. That's how it is now. It's actually crazy.
Well, the people that are still working in the mall, all 12 of them,
Yeah.
they appreciate the
He might be the only one.
weed kiosk.
he might be the only one doing business. See, if they were smart, they would do the Wii kiosk and then they put the food court next to it, and things happen there. But it's just an interesting world, to be honest with you.
Yes, it is.
It's
All
very
right.
interesting.
We're ready to go here.
I've been ready to go.
Okay. I'm going to start this. Loud. And
Uh-oh, now we're on the record.
yes, we
Mhm.
are.
I said nothing.
Audio hijack is going.
Flash bombs.
Hmm.
All right. You guys ready? I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Wahoo.
Chuck
Wow.
is so ready.
He is ready. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 222 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg. My guest this week, returning guest, always great to have him, Chuck Joyner. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing great, David. It's great to be here with three esteemed gentlemen.
Yes.
At
We're-
least that's kind of
They'll show
yeah,
up soon. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys too. How's that?
Yeah. Exactly.
He's talking about the chat room, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
And that voice there, Mr. Warren Sklar. How you doing, Warren?
I'm doing good. It's excited about our first week with the new stuff and toys and everything like that. We didn't
Yeah,
really get to it. Yeah,
It's all in the
a week-
wild this week. So
a week
we
ago
got a lot to
yesterday
talk
we
about.
were salivating, and now we get to talk about it. So that's good stuff.
Absolutely. I look forward to it. And last but certainly not least, Jeff Gammett's back. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right, and I'm happy to be here with all of you. And I'm excited to see who the esteemed gentlemen are that show up.
Yeah. Where are they? So yes, like Warren said, there is a lot to talk about. We have iPhone 14. We've had it for a week now. We can talk about that. Apple Watch, AirPods Pro are going to be coming very soon, and iOS 16. More stuff. Find it. I mean, like I said, we're going to probably put in a bunch of shows in to talk about the iOS 16 alone because there's so much. So, but first off, let's just talk about some of the news stories that are out there this week. Got a couple here, and first story. This was in iMore. Developers can now pay Apple to access the weather. WeatherKit subscriptions are now available for developers. If you have an app that uses a ton of weather data from Apple's WeatherKit, today is a good day for you, except for the part where you have to pay some money. Today, Apple announced as this week, they made the WeatherKit subscription available to developers. There's an update out there from the developers kit. I don't know if it said how much. Oh, there's the pricing there. It's pretty up there. 1 million calls per month is $49.99. It goes all the way up from there. Chuck, what do you think? This is something that, if anything, is going to expand the coverage of weather, because it was always hit or miss of all those weather apps that are out there. Now we're going to get some good ones, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that Apple's doing it. It's one more service they offer, so therefore it's a little bit more money in their coffers. Pardon me. Sounds like I need to get in from the weather. But I think it's interesting that they are opening it up. It's one of those catch-22s. You grab it and then you hold it for yourself and make your weather app as good as you can, or do you open it up to developers and see what they come up with? So, it's. I think we're going to see more of this because Apple is going to be getting into, I think, more providing materials and information and data for apps in the back end.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think if anything, this is going to expand even further. What do you think, Jeff? I mean, we've talked about this last week that the sad that Dark Sky is going to go end of life at the beginning of 2023, but it's in good hands. It's now in Apple's weather integrated app, but I guess you're gonna have some opportunities for other developers to do this too, right?
Okay. Well, first, I have to bag on Apple and the weather app just a little bit, because yes, they've integrated a lot of what Dark Sky is into the weather app, but it's still not doing proper hyper local weather. which is why everyone wanted dark sky.
Mhm.
So the weather app needs to address that, or I'll be back to what I was before dark sky, where I use like 4 different apps, weather apps, all the time, because each one does one thing right. Okay, now on to what you were actually asking me about. Yeah, so all of these companies or developers that make weather apps, they're paying someone to get the data that they need to show in the app. So if they're paying Apple for that data, it's no different than if they're paying any of the other data aggregation services. Hopefully, what they're getting by paying Apple for this is really good hyperlocal data, since since Apple owns Dark Sky now.
Right.
And the problem, though, that I see with all of this is that this is expensive for developers.
It is.
And since they already had to pay to be able to use the weather data, that's not changing for them. What's changing is where they may get the data and how much they may be paying. I don't know if Apple's pricing is better than what developers have been paying before or not. You know, if I was smart, I would have actually looked into that before the show tonight.
That's okay. It's I mean, we know that the weather data is expensive. We know that all these weather apps are monetizing in some way, shape, or form by charging a monthly rate or whatever they're deciding to do. Like, Carrot's a good example. They went to one time payment to monthly rates now. So, but what do you think, Warren?
I'm missing something, obviously. So Dark Skies, before Apple bought them, was their own company that pulled the weather data, the hyper local data from somewhere. So I'm not sure where, who is providing the weather information to these companies in the beginning. And that leads me to my question of, why does a developer need to feel the need to pay Apple for data that's got to be provided by multiple sources at this point of our life, and technology and weather? I mean, where's the sources come from is what I'm asking. How come developers can't go on the internet and say, provide weather providers, and there's not a million of them that's willing to sell them something?
Okay, so from what I understand, there's a handful of weather data aggregators out there. So these would be the back end parts that the app developers are paying for, and so that sources like Weather Underground, and then you can get data from NOAA, and I don't know what NOAA's pricing is.
Right.
So anyhow, so there's this handful of companies that are aggregating the data. So from what I understand, when you buy into Apple's weather kit, you're buying into a single source that's aggregating multiple sources for you. And then you're also paying for the privilege to hook directly into everything else that Apple is doing in their own weather ecosystem.
Stop for a second then. How is that not, how would, in your case, that would be the worst case of monopolizing from Apple, right? Because essentially you're telling me that company A or company B, which is Apple, is purchasing weather data from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to come to them. They're buying them, they're subscribing to them. And then Apple company B is going to say, okay, for $5, $10 a month, here's all the stuff that I'm buying from these people. That doesn't sound right to me or legal.
And that's why we're not Apple's legal team.
Yeah.
Okay. But you think that's what they're doing? You think Apple is paying these top weather predictor companies and they're aggregating it in. So developers could go right to that company, one of those companies. I'm assuming they'll sell them something.
Sure.
Or go to Apple and get all of their data that they got from everybody else filtered in to them.
That,
I mean,
the way I
Which would be a
understand
good
it,
deal.
yes.
which would be, I guess, I mean, it depends how accurate you want your weather app to be, right? So if you wanted to pay Apple for that developer fee, you could do that because they get multiple sources, or you could go to one of the sources if it's cheaper and still be probably fairly accurate.
yeah, I guess we don't know where the data is going, where the data is coming from. We don't know who Apple is paying for subscriptions, so it's kind of hard to really
It's just an interesting
really know.
concept of
Did
how
you
it's
have something to add, Jeff?
Well, just, Warren said it could, well, how'd you say, Warren? Almost as accurate or less accurate, I forget. But, so if I'm checking out on a weather app, I mean, I want the best information I can get. And
That's right.
so if somebody's out there soliciting less than great data from even from an original source, if I compare that with what I can get either through Apple or up till now dark sky, well, I'm always going to go with the better one because it's better. It's not just a casual thing. In a lot of cases I'm relying on the weather app to tell me how to dress, how to travel, all those things. So
I understand that, but like, remember, there's that weather app that gives you snarky X-rated comments.
yeah,
That's
carrot.
Carrot. So,
Yeah.
I mean, a company like that is trying to make money off their little snarky comments and things, and people doing that. And if Apple says we'll charge you X amount of money for this weather data, or company B says X minus whatever they offered, I think there's a compelling reason for somebody to save money for that. But
I don't, I mean, you and I must just have different values because, I don't, the snarky stuff, okay, that's been Carrot's distinguishing characteristic. But at the end of the day, if it's not giving me the weather information I want, then it's just a toy. And
it was before
toys.
Apple decided to filter remodeling. I mean, Apple just started doing this process. So before Apple did this, you were getting accurate data before that. So
Well, we'll see. We'll see where the
Yeah.
data is coming from. We don't know.
Hmm.
Like I said, without really having firsthand knowledge. I mean, they really haven't advertised it, nor have I seen any stories about it. So,
No.
other than this story, which tells us that Apple is opening up with the weather API, and we'll see where it goes.
Cool.
So, next story here is iOS adoption. The iOS 16 proves to be more popular than iOS 15 was last year. iPhone users are adopting iOS 16 at a quicker pace than they adopted iOS 15 last year, according to some updated data from an analytics company, Mixpanel. 9 days after launch, iOS 16 is installed on an estimated 23% of iPhones. 10 days after its launch in 2021, iOS 15 was only at about 19.3%. So it's a pretty good jump here. And we always know that that iOS tends to be a pretty a pretty high adoption rate as time goes on, as it is anyway. But interesting to see that iOS 16 is a little higher. But I think iOS 15 wasn't as good. Not that iOS is any better with all the bugs we're going to talk about here in a minute here, but a bit here. So, but what do you think, Jeff?
I think that iOS 16 has more consumer accessible, flashy features that are making it more enticing to the average user. Like the whole lock screen thing.
Right.
I think for a lot of people, that's reason enough to upgrade, and and then they get all the other stuff to go along with it. But I think it's the flashy consumer focused features that are really driving the upgrade.
Yeah. What do you think, Warren?
No, I agree with Jeff. There's definitely more fun things to show your friends in this release than it was last year. And I don't even remember what last year's key features were, to be honest with you, but I'll forget this year's key features next year, I'm
I
sure.
think we all do.
Yeah. So but yeah, I agree with Jeff. It's just it's got some nifty features in there.
Chuck?
Warren seems to be focused on fun. I'm not focused on fun. I want usable features, and
Right.
I feel like the features I'm seeing in iOS 16 are making a difference in the way I use the phone. And that, I think that says it all. and I'm sure this has been true for every kind of release, that, one release, maybe there were features in it that Jeff used more than I would. So it was a better release for him. For me, and I don't want to get too far ahead of us, but for example, the lock screen widgets are something that I really do use. And I'm already a week and a half in, I'm learning to depend on. So, I agree with Jeff's assessment, but I don't see any of them as fun. I just see them as, useful.
Useful. Yeah, it's good. I would agree with that. And then just our last story. We're getting a little short on stories this week since we got a lot to talk about. Apple now says Apple Watch Series 8 and the SE2 will support Bluetooth 5.3. When Apple Watch Series 8 and second gen SE were announced, in the comparison page, they said both models would support 5.0, but now Apple is saying that they'll actually support the newer 5.3 standard. The website still says 5.0, but because 5.3 is supposed to include several feature enhancements with the potential to improve reliability, energy efficiency, user experience. Because we know how Bluetooth is. Not sure about the LE audio. And I know that's a big thing with the newer version of Bluetooth. What do you think, Jeff?
I don't get why they wouldn't tell us this right up front, and why it's a thing that's coming out now. It's not like it would tip their hand at other features. So, and it can't be like a last minute change where they swapped out the chips, because this is something that would have been set long ago. So what's up with that?
What is up with that? What do you think? What do you think, Chuck?
Somebody decided it's time.
Time to move on to it.
Yeah.
But why not announce that it's 5.3 initially instead of doing it as an, oh, by the way thing? Actually, I think I came up with one total reach of a reason, which is, you have to get approval for the different radios you're using. Maybe they already had the 5.0 approval, and until they got 5.3 approval, they just couldn't say that.
Yeah.
But something I haven't been clear on, though, before the, oh, by the way, was it active, or did it get turned on in the 16.0.1 update?
That's a good question.
I don't know. Isn't that hardware? A piece of hardware?
It's hardware, but you can tell the hardware to artificially limit which version of Bluetooth it uses.
Yeah, they could have just done that, and then
so maybe they had the right chip in there, and then in software limited to 5.0 until they got through regulatory approval, or
right.
Or Tim was in a better mood. I don't know.
Well, if it,
your thoughts?
Yeah, the only reason I would be excited about this is every so often my watch doesn't wake up with my phone. Like my watch, my phone don't always talk. In some cases, and I have to reboot my watch, and maybe that's a Bluetooth limitation that would be fixed with new versions of Bluetooth. So, because the
OS.
Yeah, the only other benefit would be listening to music through your watch, and I don't do that. So I guess the only benefit to me would be better communication with Bluetooth devices around me.
Potentially lower battery power consumption.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be good too.
Although, I just experienced it last night. I forgot my iPhone in my car last night, and normally I would go to my watch and be able to do the alarm, say, where is it? So I could hear it. And of course it said it lost connection. And I'm like, well, it's not that far. It's just over in my garage. So I thought, to me, that's kind of a bug. That's never happened to me before. I've done that before. I left it in my car, and it's still going to reach that far from here. So another check of bugs we're experiencing. But yeah, that's news this week. Let's move on to the topics. Beta, iOS 16.1 beta 2 came out. They've added the lock screen charging indicator, copy and paste alert fix in the battery status update. A couple of things that are in there is the battery status bar visual change is now much larger. People were complaining it was too small. I mean, I guess it is small. It is especially small. I've looked on it on the 10R I have here, and it was really small. And it is a bit bigger, a little easier to see that the indicator. And the font, they changed that. So a lot of cosmetic fix, but the biggest thing was the bugs, which some are partially fixed, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. But that copy and paste pain in the butt every time you'd copy and paste something, you get the prompt as, do you want to allow paste or not? I think was a bit of a nuisance. Warren, you the beta guy on the iPhone. What's your experience so far on 16.1?
Well, my experience was before when I put the first beta on,
That GPS stopped working.
I was just walking around in a circle for about 5 days, just walking in circles because I didn't know where I was and I was lost. So when I finally made it home, I told you I reverted back to the, so this time I'm like, okay. Because as soon as the beta came out, I wanted it. So I actually did something I never do. And I made a full backup on my Mac, which happens to have enough space because it's stupid. What, like 300 gigs of, a Mac backup for the phone is crazy large. It's about the same size as it's just, so I've run out of room in the pad. I have laptops that won't hold it anymore. And I had to use iMazing because iMazing is the only thing that lets you change the backup location. That's a whole other show. But anyway, so I made the backup first, and then I went outside after the update, and it found me, and I said, okay, I'm fine. Everything's good. That's the only thing that I really cared about. So I did that, and then I was brave enough to do the watch, and it's fine.
Are you back on? Yeah, we know you're brave. Are you back on the 16.1 now? Back on the beta 2 out, or are you just?
I'm on the beta. Yeah, I put on my phone. I put the beta.
Why did I even ask?
I mean, so worst that can happen, right? So I put that on there, and the iPad one came out too. So I put them on everything basically.
Yeah. We know.
Because honestly, the only thing that was broken for the first beta was the GPS, to me at least. So, and actually, it's fixed things that you guys are suffering with now. So,
and we're not suffering anymore. So, but
and did it come out to fix? Yeah, it came out today.
16.0.2.
Yeah,
I'll talk about that in just a minute.
Yeah.
And then iPad OS is still in beta. I believe it's a beta 8 or beta 9.
Yeah,
one of those. I think it's getting close on the iPad. I know Ventura, Mac OS Ventura is very close too. It's that beta 8 just came out, I believe, today. So we're getting close for the rest of the OSs. Chuck, I know you don't do any beta, so I won't even ask unless you have any other comments on it.
No, I mean, I really don't. I say this every time the beta discussion comes up, and I find it a little disturbing that, okay, we find out that beta 16.0.2 or whatever the number is, fixes this bug, and it gets plastered all over the web. And if I'm one of the people that's, not on a beta and I'm experiencing that bug, then I'm looking at it, beating on the thing saying, it's supposed to be fixed. It's supposed to be fixed. And so it's good news that they figured it out and it will be fixed soon. But I can't help but question the clarity of some of this communication. And part of it is the tech web, and part of it is Apple, having this open beta program. So,
right.
And I don't know, maybe you all don't depend on your phone the way that I find that I do. So
I don't put it on my primary phone.
Well, see, that's the thing, so you have the luxury of two phones, and but not everybody does, and that's where I really question some of this. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, it's good that they figured out what it is, and you'd like to think that within a week or two you'll be getting the fix.
Yep.
On the other hand, I want the fix now since I know they've identified it.
Nope, I agree. Jeff, have you been working iPad beta? I know on your one iPad that's been running okay.
Yeah, the beta's running fine on the one iPad, my sacrificial iPad.
Right.
Yeah,
like my two sacrificial iPads.
Yeah, like you, Chuck. I will not put beta on any mission critical device. Nope. So that means my iPhone, my Apple Watch, my big iPad Pro. They do not run beta.
Nope. A couple other things just to mention: tvOS 16.1 is out, as well as Watch OS 9.1. As always, tvOS doesn't really have much of anything they share. Then WatchOS, I don't know if have you seen anything, Warren, on what you have been running on your watch?
Yeah, nothing.
Okay. When 16.1 that does come out with iOS 16.1 and tvOS 16.1, the Fitness Plus is now going to be available without the need of an Apple Watch. I know they did announce that during the last keynote. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes, and which is great because not everybody wants an Apple Watch, and I can't understand why, but there are people out there who do not want them. So that's gonna be interesting to see where that goes. But well, it'll be out soon because all these bugs we'll talk about here in a little bit. Yeah, I think we need to get accelerating here. So the AirPods Pro, those are shipping. They've shipped. I did order a pair. I'm going to have it tomorrow. It's going to, as we record this. So I'll definitely get to report back what my thoughts are on that. I think a lot of people are getting their orders on Friday, but I'm hearing that the shipping dates are getting really pushed out pretty far now, mid to late October, sometime into November. So I don't think any of you here have purchased the AirPods Pro as of yet.
Not yet.
So interesting to see there. Apple is releasing a firmware upgrade just ahead of the launch, which is kind of bizarre. I've never seen them pre-release AirPods and then have a firmware upgrade right off the bat. But I think that did actually happen with the iPhone 2 this time around too. We went to 16.0.1. So interesting, and got a link in the show notes how you actually can go in and check your firmware and be able to make sure it's installed right when they will come. I'll be doing this tomorrow as well. So that is AirPods Pro, and interesting thing, this was article actually. Apple did explain with this AirPods Pro there's been quite a debate whether or not the silicone ear tips are going to be compatible with the original AirPods Pro, and they officially say they are not. They're notably denser mesh than the second gen ear tips, and Apple did not provide any other details. They do have a support article to talk about it, but they do say that they're not compatible. I mean, I don't understand why. They look pretty similar, but there's a lot of third-party ones out there that had been out there with the original AirPods Pro. So guess once we get them out in the wild, we'll start hearing more about this. So going to be interesting to see where that goes with the tips. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the Apple Watch Ultra. That's out in the hands of many. I'm sure many of you have already listened to some of the influencers out there, Justine and MKHD and all those guys and gals. Seems like it's getting some pretty good reviews. Not something I would be interested in, but I know a few of you already got your Apple Watch Series 8, right? And Jeff, you got yours, and
yeah, mine showed up today.
Okay, so you probably haven't set it up just yet.
Oh no, it's set up and on my
What
wrist
am I
right
thinking?
now.
Why do I even question that?
Yeah, I was going to say,
you update everything immediately. So
remember who you're talking to, Dave.
I know.
Come on, man.
Geez, excuse me.
No, it's
We all
okay.
would.
I mean, it's crazy
We do it
times.
we do it on the cars on the way home from the mall. Have you done that? Have you set up I've swapped watches?
I have. Yeah, sitting
I've
in my
taken
car.
a portable
iPhone,
charger with me, and I get that hour drive is going to be I'm going to put that to work and get my
and
watch.
setting up an Apple Watch. I mean,
it's a
you need
timely
that whole
thing.
hour drive.
It really does.
You do.
It's
Oh,
better now,
gosh.
but like the Apple Watch 3, I used to joke I could update my phone, my Mac, my TV, all after one after another, and my watch will still be kind of doing that little tick.
Yeah. So and Chuck, you got one as well?
No, I did
Oh,
not.
you didn't? Okay, so you and I have not. We're both we both stayed with the 7.
Yeah, I mean, I've stayed with the 7 because, well, for one big reason, that is that the improvements to the 8 that I've seen really don't feel like they apply to me. Not being smart because I'm not female, and so I don't need to. I don't benefit from that. The rest of the features don't seem like they're enough of an upgrade for me, but
Yeah.
I reserve the right to take a look at it. And I also, much to my own surprise, I reserve the right to go in and try on an Apple Watch Ultra.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
I'm seeing so many interesting things about this.
Me too.
I'd love to give credit to the article, one of the articles I read today, and I'm sorry I can't, but or maybe it was yesterday. Anyway, that they were praising the action button and just what a
Oh.
kind of a game changer it is. And
Mhm.
this person was not a big athlete of any kind. So I've got to go and look at it. I'm not anxious to spend that much more for a watch that whose primary function seems to be things that I probably will not be engaging in anytime soon. But at the same time, I'd be crazy if I didn't take a look at it. And
Oh yeah,
see. And
I definitely want to go to an Apple store and try it on and see it.
Yeah.
I've seen I've seen already some of the YouTube videos, and people have small wrists, and boy, it's a big watch. But I was always used to, before I started wearing Apple Watch all the time, and I used to have big size watches, and so for me, being a big guy, it's not gonna. It would probably fit nicely for me, but it all will depend on how it is, and
It's a screen size. It's basically it.
yeah.
I mean,
well,
again, for me, I've never, not once have I said I wish my watch has another button. It never was an issue for me to have.
That's because you haven't had an Apple Watch Ultra yet.
exactly.
Yeah, even I don't run enough.
I say
or-
that half
or-
joking.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
right now it's probably even got one button too many at this point, so it's fine. The Ultra has the nice screen and the flat screen, and that's what appeals to me. Obviously,
Yeah.
bigger screen is good. But I thought about it today, though. I mean, you guys correct me. Is there any feature in the Ultra that's not in the 8? Like, does it have a sensor that the 8 doesn't have? What does it do differently? I know it has the extra button, but what does it do that the 8 doesn't do?
Well, I mean, battery life, and it was tested by Marcus Brownlee. He actually went through it, and he said it was at almost 3 days, and he had still a 20% battery life
Right.
left on
But
the
it-
Ultra. So,
But that's not a feature. That's an improvement. So what
Well,
feature does it do?
well, kind of
Okay.
is. I mean,
Yeah.
How's that a
And Warren, I would say that, the other one is is I guess the 3 speakers and 2 mics that
Right.
Used
are-
for calls, I guess.
yeah.
calls and the emergency, that the siren that's built on, it's
The
got
siren,
85
yeah.
decibel siren and
Again,
Right.
I mean,
The
wh-
water temperature sensor.
water
So
temperature
I always-
sensor, yeah.
so with the calls, I always try to avoid talking on the watch, right? I don't know about you guys, but it's my third choice.
Once in a while, I do it.
Or at least my first choice is phone, then Mac, maybe watch if I have to. But do you think this will get you more attuned to talking on that? If they could hear you better and you could hear them better, I guess, right?
Warren, I tell you, I've used my watch a surprising amount, and I think that they've gotten better as we've gone along.
Yeah.
That the quality of the calls, because now it used to be I could tell that someone was on their watch. Now I have I call a couple people on a fairly regular basis, and I know they're answering on their watch, and I know only because I know them, not because it sounds like it.
Okay.
And so, if these mics and the speaker make a bigger difference,
Mhm.
I mean, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And
I think most
So-
people don't because of privacy. I mean, obviously, if you have the option to, if you're walking in public, if you have the option to put the phone to your ear instead of having everybody hear you, that's what you're going to do.
you know what? I don't know about that, because I see an awful lot of people walking around, with their phones, in front of them talking,
With a
and you
speaker.
can hear everything that's going
Mhm.
on.
Oh,
Like
I'm
a
not saying
speaker
there's
on.
people doing, but I don't. I mean, personally,
There's a lot of
to
people
be-
who do.
to be not like rude, I put the phone to my ear and don't let people I kind of look at people who do that funny because it's rude. Like if you're in a restaurant and somebody's doing that, it's kind of rude.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Well, you look at everybody funny, Warren.
I do.
So it definitely interesting. Go ahead, Jeff.
I decided, since we were talking about, well, what features does the Ultra have that the others don't? Maybe I should look it up.
What a concept.
I know. Okay, so what we missed was water resistant to 100 meters.
Right.
Also includes the Oceanic Plus app, and
coming later. So it'll be coming soon.
and then there's something else in here that that we missed. Let's
Well,
see.
the depth, it measures how deep you are in the water as well as the temperature. I saw
Right.
I saw a demo
And-
that they did it. and
But
it
as
was
far
amazing.
as health features for a normal person, like who's not doing all this stuff, the health features are the same between the 8 and the Ultra, I guess, or as far
Yeah.
as that goes.
Yeah.
more or less.
Oh, I found the other thing that we missed: precision dual frequency GPS.
Oh, right,
as
the
opposed
GPS. Yeah, it was
to
in my
the
head, I
single
forgot to-
antenna GPS.
Yeah, it's got the three. I think it's 3 bands. I believe it is.
Yeah.
Derek,
No.
So
if you-
okay, so here's the thing with GPS antennas. When you have one antenna, you need to have enough time for the satellites to move overhead, so
Right.
that your receiver can calculate the difference in movement between the GPSs and use that as sort of an extrapolated triangulation. The more antennas you have, the more precision you have. So if you have 3 antennas, you can get your position much faster, because you can get data from 3 antennas simultaneously. And when you have at least 3 antennas, now you can do GPS altitude as well.
So
okay.
the question is, if you were stranded and needed the GPS signal, you would have a better chance of surviving with the Ultra than the regular 8. Is that a valid statement?
I don't think so. I mean, well, potentially. The thing is, if you can hit multiple antennas, or excuse me, multiple satellites at the same time, you get location acquisition faster and more accurately.
But
So
then
yeah, I
that-
suppose you could say that you do
That's
have a
what you
higher
need.
chance of survival, because there's a higher likelihood that you'll have an accurate position on your GPS.
Yes, I mean, speed is everything, right? So I mean, again, if you have an Ultra on and you're able to communicate that you're in trouble, and it takes a minute compared to 5, 4 minutes could kill you. So I mean, that's
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I were doing more outdoor activity than I am right now,
your chances.
and I had the money to spare,
Right,
I would have an Ultra
Ultra.
as a second Apple Watch.
right.
So I'd have my Series 8 for around town, and then when I go out into the mountains, I'd put on the Ultra instead.
Right. So I think if you're a person who could be in these situations more than the normal person, yeah, it makes 100% to get the Ultra over the 8. Otherwise, you just want the bigger screen, which is not a bad reason. And that's why I wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be people out there that buy this Ultra just to have it. I mean, and not even
Oh,
use
sure.
anywhere near the features it offers. I mean, if I were to get it, I'm not
You
going
know-
to be scuba diving anytime soon. So,
Well, but
Yeah,
let's
and if I
face-
had it, I wouldn't be scuba diving either, but
No,
I'd be
but-
playing
Yeah.
in the mountains all the time.
But I'd
Yeah,
be
but let's-
happy. I'd be happy having a louder, bigger phone. That's if I had it. But
Yeah.
is it worth $300? Is it worth $300 to have a louder, bigger phone that I know that I'm gonna buy a new one next year, because we do every year. So that's the question I have.
Well, and
Gotcha.
I also, I mean, look, we all own devices that are manufactured by Apple that we don't use to their fullest potential. And we also own devices made by Apple that we don't use all the features because they don't apply to what we do, whatever that happens to be. So, I'm not going to damn the Apple Watch Ultra for that. It's just going to be a matter of, does it suit you? And do you have the extra $300? And Warren, I think you bring up a great, that's a great point, that, if these watches come out every year. And so, what now, if you get on the trade-in bandwagon, the smart thing to do is make your trade as soon as you can get your hands on your new one, and trade the old one in to maximize it. So you aren't laying out that you're only laying out the delta. You're not laying out, a whole nother full purchase price.
I would bet that next year's watch is going to have the option for the size of the Ultra without the sporty aspect to it.
Very
I would-
possible.
I would bet money, and that's the watch I'll get, because that's what I would get.
It's very possible.
Yeah,
and I
Or the
wouldn't be
stripped down
surprised.
version.
Well, David stripped down, or, I wouldn't be surprised to see the action button if it becomes as big a thing as it's being made out to be right now
Sure,
by the
right.
reviewers. Wouldn't be a bit surprising to see that extra button added in some fashion to the Apple Watch 9.
This watch could be, sometimes Apple releases these one-off products that are kind of the jolt to the next generation of how it's going to look. 12-book MacBook is the example, right? Because they came out with this kind of one-off quirky kind of thing that was specialized use, which was going to be an ultra portable executive thing. And that Apple kind of said halfway through after releasing it, this is our new design language. This is where we're going. So could happen with this watch. It could be that's where we're going with this watch.
So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. I'm going to sure we'll be hear a lot more about the Ultra. I can't wait. I'm going to try to get into the Apple Store soon. Want to at least try it on, check it out, and see it in person. But I'm going to resist. at least try to. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Other than Jeff, the three of us, Chuck and Warren and myself, have the 14 Pro Max. And we've had it for a week now, and I wanted to get the panel's first impressions of how they like it and what really stands out. I'll start with you, Chuck. I know, like me and like Warren, you upgrade pretty much every year. So, what's made you happy so far with the 14 Pro Max?
I've first of all, I haven't run into any of the bugs we've talked about here.
Okay.
That's the first thing. The second thing, I mentioned the
Interesting.
lock screen widgets, dynamic island. For all the jokes that have been made about the name of it, I think it has so much potential. I'm liking what I see so far, and it really hasn't been opened up to developers fully yet.
Right.
And certainly they haven't had a chance to do anything with it, except a couple developers developed strange little pets for it, and somebody else developed a Pong game for it. And that's fine. Those are tests of what they can and can't do. But I think that's going to be a big improvement. And that sort of straddles that edge between iOS 16 and iPhone 14. So the camera is flat out amazing, especially if you crank up the Pro RAW and its full file size. I mean, it's staggering just the detail you can get out of it. It also means that you're going to occupy a whole lot of space with those images. So
You went with, did you go to that 1 terabyte, right?
I went to the 1 terabyte because I want to do some video work with it, and this may be my new mobile interview rig. As opposed to, I may finally retire the old iPad and go with this, because the camera is just so amazing. And drop it into airplane mode, and you've got all the benefits of the computational photography. Now I will have a full terabyte of storage, which is something I didn't even have on the iPad. I'll probably need it if I, depending on what camera settings I use. So I have no hesitancy about recommending this phone right now. It's big, if the bigness bothers you, don't get the Max.
Get the Pro.
Yeah. But yeah.
What stand out for you, Warren?
What really stood out for me actually was the brightness of this thing is much brighter than my old phone.
2000 nits, is it?
It was much brighter than the 13, and to the point where I actually, for the first time ever in a long time, turned down the brightness as a setting. I always been full brightness because I like it to be like that, but it's actually too bright. Maybe if I left the house, it wouldn't be as bright, but yeah.
Why would you ever want to leave your house? Oh, right, edibles.
Now I could leave my house. Now I could leave my house because the Apple Maps it works again.
Oh, right, you won't be walking in a circle
I won't be
anymore.
in circles. Yeah,
or jump in a lake.
Or jump in a lake. But if I jump in a lake, I better get the Ultra because I'll need to scuba. Anyhow, the brightness is cool. The notification center, the island gimmicky name, it's fine. It's neat. I talked a little bit, maybe Tuesday in landscape mode. It's a little funny looking, but they'll fix that. I did have the GPS bug obviously in the beta, but I also had the copy and paste bug in the non-beta. So I mean, I saw that
Yes.
one too. Um, you know, I want to see some neat things with the dynamic island, like maybe a night rider, you know,
Oh yeah, the little Cylon
Yeah.
light.
yeah, that would be
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, just have that go and go and go like that. Faster.
Warren, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, are you going to find a wallpaper that makes it look like you have a notch so your wife doesn't know you have a new iPhone?
So my wife is landed. She's this is gonna see what happens. So I mean, it's been an interesting week, right? She knows my son got the phone because she saw that. I'm gonna turn on always on display and let it ride. Let's see how it goes. And
Okay.
can't hide that, right? so I think I honestly think that she hasn't asked me, and I think she knows that it happens.
I mean, I can't believe she doesn't know that you upgrade every year.
I tell her, and we go through a fight, like a little play fight every year, and every year I say, you know, she's like, I know you're just
Oh.
going to do this every year. I'm like, fine. So every year we go through the same day of issue, and that's about it.
It's the circle of life. Hakuna Matata.
Yeah.
Listen, you know, we need things to talk about, my wife and I sometimes, and this is something to talk about. So
There you go.
the fighting of it. So, but yeah,
Actually,
no,
Warren, I do have a legit question for you.
go for it.
So since you're playing with all the different devices all the time,
Hmm.
are you noticing that the weight increase, which is what, like an ounce, half an ounce, is that really noticeable for you
On the phone?
on the phone?
No, not really. I mean, you know, I noticed it by when I tried to put my old 13 plus cases on it, and
And
it
you had to
said,
Dremel the cases?
well, it did, like I put one on, and
I didn't even think of that. I have 13.
So I
Pro
put one
Max
on, and
cases.
I'm
I
like,
should have.
I put one on, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna work, but it was holding down, and like it kept
No,
rebooting because it kept holding down its own buttons.
Yeah, the buttons
Yeah.
are shifted.
The volume,
Yeah.
the volume
So,
control buttons are off.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I would have to like Dremel, like you said, and I'm not doing that. So no, it's it feels exactly like my old one. So
I'll say for me, I think I see some performance jumps. I mean, I feel it's a more robust and fast experience. Which leads me into Dynamic Island, because that's kind of the thing I'm really been super excited about and what it does. And you know, a lot of the things that it does is just amazing. And the fact of being able to just bring up whatever you're working on, go up into that Dynamic Island and get to it is just awesome, because you always what you had to do before. You had to swipe down, look for the app, and go or swipe up and look what's running, and then thumb through them and go to the app. And now if it's an app that supports it, you just go up to that Dynamic Island and tap it. It brings you right to where you need to go. It's got transaction confirmations with Apple Pay, which I really like. It shows those. I really love that the Face ID is up at the top now for unlocking. It's because it was always below and you never know if it was working right, and it seems to be better there. But all the things that are for alerts are just there. The battery life, silent mode is off and on. It's there, and any music app that's in the dynamic that will reside in the Dynamic Island, and including Spotify and WhatsApp and any communication type things. And the phone is so much easier to get to now. You don't have to have the big screen. You just tap it and it's there. And I like how it has it shows you when someone's speaking. It's got the sound bars that are showing as someone speaks. And so it's pretty awesome. I think it's got some things to go yet. You know, other good examples. If you do Lyft, you get a Lyft taxi, you can have that right there. You don't have to toggle to the app, and I think that's going to happen as more third-party apps start coming up on board with the Dynamic Island. So impressed with what they did with it. I think it's something that's cool. I know there was a rumor, I wasn't going to really make a big deal out of it, but they're already rumoring, you know, we get these new iPhone 14s and now they're already talking about the iPhone 15. I mean, that they're saying that's going to probably be, I guarantee people are going to be really excited the fact that it's going to be across all of the iPhones in the next year. So definitely see this as something that's here to stay. So I'm impressed with the phone. I already sent back my 13 Pro Max, so I'm stuck with it now. So
You're stuck
uh,
with it. I have an
so,
observation about the dynamic island, and I'll
okay.
start. I'll preface this with I'm actually really excited about seeing the dynamic island in action.
Yeah.
That and the new cameras to me were the most exciting things for the new iPhones. Okay, but the dynamic island, when you think about it, what Apple did was said, let's just say this one place on the screen, this is where we're just going to show controls and information, and we'll make it bigger and smaller. And people are flipping out like
Right.
this is the most revolutionary thing that's ever happened. Any phone can have a dynamic island on it if you just design the interface so there's an area where that's where this stuff shows.
Except when a notch, if there's a national notch in there, you can't.
Yeah, but
Because-
I mean, so put the dynamic island somewhere else. I mean,
Right.
because that's
Wait.
just a software thing.
Well, Android phones are copying them. That's the story
Yeah.
today. Is Android phones are actually emulating
They are?
exactly what you're saying. Yeah,
Oh my God.
they're making
Okay, well,
their
there
own
you go.
dynamic islands because you can. Right? It's just basically ones. It's like you said, it's ones and O's up there. So that's all they're doing is turning lights on and off. So
Yeah. So, yeah. So on one hand, this is crazy that people are flipping out over Apple saying this area here on the screen, we're just dedicating that to information. Oh my God. And, but at the same time, what they're doing is actually pretty cool. And of course, the Android developers are making their own dynamic islands now too. Of course they are.
You're muted, David.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, so it's definitely going to get something huge. I mean, this is and more to come. I think in the next few months, we're going to see more and more things that this dynamic island does. So
I am looking forward to seeing what people do with this.
But Jeff, your observation is interesting because the iPhone and to a lesser degree, especially as it's evolved, the iPad have always been sort of a single application device. And now that's eroding just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I too love it, but the lock screen. I mean, the lock screen now is becoming an information screen, and
Right.
you get this sense that this is part of the evolution, and I think it's part of the evolution of the OS, but it's also an evolution of us. That there was a time that you say, "Oh my God, Brittany brought it up earlier this week." That how much of a distraction is this for those of us who can be easily distracted, and do you have the ability to turn it off if you are one of those that has that predilection? So I don't know. It just, I mean, I'm kind of happy to see it because for me it works, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's really interesting to see that we're all sophisticated enough now that we can deal with that much more information, or we figured out that there's a benefit to having some of those controls and that information on the screen when I'm doing something completely different.
Yep, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, for the sake of time here, I want to just get a few more things in here. There was a story here that mentioned that the iPhone 14 Pro does feature a faster 5G speeds because of a new modem chip. The speeds on T-Mobile and Verizon networks in the US compared to the 13 Pro were much faster because of that. And the article and link in the show notes shows that, it's quite a bit faster with download speeds. And this is thanks to the Qualcomm Snapdragon X65 modem that's offering these speeds. So there's another enhancement there that wasn't really talked about. And
Chuck, you
Yes.
need to run some speed tests on your phone because you have Mint, right? Mint Mobile.
Not on this phone.
Okay. Here's where I'm going with this.
Okay.
Mint Mobile uses T-Mobile's network as an
Right.
MVNO. So if T-Mobile has bumped up their, or if you can get faster 5G speeds on T-Mobile now, does that carry over to the MVNOs?
it should.
All right.
first of all, faster 5G speeds in my house is like faster of garbage. I mean, so it really depends on where you are. But I have noticed outside of my house, I've seen pretty good 5G on T-Mobile since this phone, maybe a little
Yeah.
bit faster than before, but I was getting, if you get a good 5G signal, you're getting, I've seen 700.
700. Yeah. My
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I've gotten some crazy 5G speeds on
Yeah.
my 12 Pro on
And they're
AT
coming-
and T.
yeah, and they're coming more and more, available, which is, I love it. I mean,
Yeah.
so you get it to a place where you get that kind of speed. So, if you get an extra 100 out of this new, chip, then awesome. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, iOS 16.0.2 just got released today as we record this. It does address some of the bugs. It's not addressing all of the bugs. The notable bugs was the camera may vibrate and cause blurry photos. I guess there was some TikTok users who were complaining that was happening, and Apple did acknowledge that. The display may appear black during device setup, and then the copy and paste annoyance. And you said some of you guys said you didn't see that, which was interesting. But
I've
it-
been dealing with the copy and paste annoyance on my iPhone 12 Pro.
okay, so that this 16, but the problem is that oh no, I believe this is on all iPhones. This release is so.
Yeah, I'm putting it on my 12 right now.
Yeah, so it did fix some of those bugs. Real quick, I'll just go through some of the other bugs that they talked about. One of the things that was notable for me was and it was with the with CarPlay. This was noted. It was noted that CarPlay was not working properly with audio, and people weren't able to hear me very, very loudly because of an annoyance that it just wasn't working. And my wife just kept telling me, "So I can't hear you. I can't hear you." And then I would say, "Let me call you back." And I would go back again, and it was really soft. And then, sure enough, after she told me that today, I found the article that said that the CarPlay is having some issues too with the iPhone 14. I was seeing it too with my wireless CarPlay device I have. It was having a heck of a time connecting, so I was plugging it in with wired connection. So we are seeing some bugs out there. Well, let's say that the fact that it is they got a little bit of work to do when it
David,
comes to these.
do you mind if I ask you, because I'm one of the things I haven't seen addressed, I haven't read every article, but and I don't know if this is just completely off the wall or not, but what vehicle are you using CarPlay in?
I use it in a Dodge Charger, so it's utilizing Uconnect. It has CarPlay built into the head unit, as well as I have bought one of those wireless devices you can plug in that simulates wireless that I can connect. I was able to connect no problem with my 13 Pro Max, but now it's been kind of buggy. It won't connect right away, or it doesn't connect at all. And so I have to end up plugging it in wired.
Okay,
So
just curious because I'm wondering about that. I'm wondering if a particular set of head units for a particular car manufacturer may be giving the issues, or whether it's completely software based.
I would wonder, because this would include Dodge, Jeep, any of the Chrysler products, because they're all the same. So I agree with you. I would wonder to see where that goes. So
yeah.
I can't go with it without talking a little bit about some of the iOS 16 items that we're going to talk about this week. Couple things of things we can actually do some change. The search button. I don't know if have you all you guys turned that off, because it is definitely different to say the least. I guess you could get used to it when you tap this, that search bar, the search box that's below at the bottom, just above your set of four icons.
I barely notice it. Doesn't bother me.
I've left it on too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
even-
Yeah,
Doesn't
so
bother me.
I just wanted to note that if someone did have a problem with it, you can easily go into the settings and turn that off by going into settings, go to tap home screen, and then you can go under search and then toggle off the switch that says show on home screen as far as search goes. So if you so choose to do that, you can. There's also something I didn't know about is the iPhone 14 Pro has a hidden toggle to enable black and white always on display mode. You are able to do that by going into the focus under settings, go to enable dim lock screen. So now when focus mode is activated, the dim lock screen will set and will be enforced. So when your iPhone 14 goes into always on display mode, the whole lock screen transforms into a simple black and white mode. So that's something that might be, easy on someone's eyes. You don't want it to be so bright when it's on your bedside. So a couple cool things as far as that can do. I don't know if that's too notable for anybody that wants to do that. So, but other thing I was kind of interested to see is, and we'll have a actually screenshot in the show notes here, is when you connect your AirPods to your iPhone, you know that it would be buried somewhere into the audio settings. You had to get to it, right? Well, now when you connect your AirPods, you go under settings and it shows your account name, and then the next line under that is the AirPods. So instead of it being deep in settings, now you can get right to it and check the settings and check anything that's make sure that the AirPods are set properly. And I think that was kind of cool. It was kind of a cool feature.
Finally,
yeah,
that should have been there from the very beginning with AirPods.
Yeah, no, I agree. It just got buried. It just got buried deep in there. So, so are some of the notable things I found this week with iOS 16. There's again so much more. We'll definitely add some stuff here. The always on display, quite of a debate. We're gonna talk about that next week because we're getting close to time on here, and I know some people have been not happy with it, and others are getting used to it. So it's just like the search. I have the search on. I was used to it, and always on. You get used to it. First day I was dealing with battery drainage, but I think it's kind of subsided itself. So, but with that, let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. It's as we've come to a close of another show here. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can also become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is usually on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch and listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Memir, Pocket Casts, Overcast, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the ways and all the links to all the ways that you can listen to us are there. And I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. And Chuck Joyner, thanks again for being here. Always great to have you on the show. And where can people find you?
Thank you. Pardon me. Thank you, David. A little struggling with the voice tonight. A little. You can find me you can find me at macvoices.com. That's where I have a lot of interesting people. I'm also doing some new things moving forward. Today, I published what I think are some new iPhone essentials.
Just watch it. It was awesome.
No, thank you. Thank you. We do Mac Voices live Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are, on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV with Dave, Warren, Jeff, and a lot of our other friends. And on the socials, you can find me as both at Chuck Joyner and at Mac Voices. I'll try to rest my voice for next time, David.
Okay. No, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. And Jeff Gamet, always appreciate you being here. And where can people find you?
It's always fun to be here. And people can find me on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. I'm Jay Gamet on all of those. And like Chuck said, with you and Warren on Tuesdays on Mac Voices Live, then on Thursdays on the Big Show, and then here with you on Thursday evenings on In Touch with iOS, and then on Fridays on the Mac Show, and then the Context Machine, because Brian Chaffin and I apparently couldn't get enough of each other, and so we teamed back up.
Great show as always. Thank you, Jeff. And Warren Sklar, where can people find you? Thanks for being here.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me. Yeah, normal places. I do want to say, Chuck, I listened to your show with the you were at a users group. You had a couple of people, and
Long Island.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Long
Adam,
Island.
who was
Adam Angst was the guest.
Love him. He's great, great show. So yeah, I'd never heard of him before, but I mean, he's really, really cool. No, I don't follow him, but I never heard of any of these.
Warren,
I just don't know
Warren,
anybody.
we got to get you out.
Well,
I mean, that's
I-
like saying you've never heard of Dave Ginsburg or Chuck Joyner.
well,
Go- I'm not sure about that one, Jeff, but
That's a
strangely
reaching,
enough,
but-
real fast, Chuck Joyner I heard of before I even got into the Apple world. So
That
you're the
tells
only,
you how big Chuck is.
yes,
Oh,
you're the only one
geez.
you're the only one I actually even heard of before I kind of got in here. So congrats. But yeah, no, it was a good show. I enjoyed it. Thanks. And yeah, next week might be a little, no, next week is good. So I'll see you guys next week.
All right, great. And thank you for listening. We really appreciate you supporting the show and listening. We enjoy doing it, and we'll talk again soon.
Chuck,
How
I
you-
think you need a T-shirt
We need an
that
intervention
says
for
that
him.
Warren knew who I was before he was in Apple.
yeah, I
mean,
don't know. I don't know if that's good
well,
or not, Jeff.
I mean, that tells you how big you are.
oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
big, all right.
I mean,
Oh,
Warren
I-
knew you,
I
but
the
he,
no
he
the-
hadn't even heard of Adam.
Adam's
had
been
a-
in the Apple world for almost 30 years.
Oh my God, yes. Adam,
I
they
mean,
Adam and Tanya are publishing the
Yeah.
longest running email newsletter
yeah,
of any
tid-
kind, period.
Tidbits.
Tidbits.
I mean, I've heard like, I was more into PC, so I've heard of like John Dvorak and a whole bunch
Oh,
of people.
God.
Well, I mean, getting into it initially,
Ah.
those kind of people,
I
guess
hate
is
this
what I
thing.
Yes.
heard.
John C. Dvorak.
Yeah, but I,
Great
but I,
invitation, Dave.
but I was,
I'm glad that's
reading,
recorded.
I was reading PC Mag in the early 2000s. And
Yeah.
it probably didn't sound like that. So who knows?
Apple is
But,
doomed.
Mm.
Anyhow, yeah, it's
What,
fun.
Warren, what I want to know is when you're starting your marital relationship podcast.
Oh my
Uh,
God, people would pay money for that.
I would buy, that's a Patreon donation
That's
guaranteed right there.
Guaranteed.
Over
Mm.
25 years can't be wrong, guys. What can I tell you?
I
forget-
think we should get something started. You like people send in their relationship questions, and then we have Warren answer them.
I
And
like,
you said, Warren, 25 years, so you must be doing
Yeah.
something right.
Must be.
although
We're
when
just
Warren-
hiding in the basement.
Well, when Warren was, but when Jeff, when Warren was talking about his wife, and then you ask, do I have that right? And then you ask him if he noticed the extra ounce difference. I was going to say, you mean on the phone or his wife? And I thought, no, I better not do that.
Good call. Good call.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say goodbye to the live stream. Bye, everybody.